Here we go now. That is Bill's favorite music. Nope. Democrats are touting a surge of enthusiasm for Vice President Harris, but despite that momentum, polls show the race is still essentially tied in the battleground, so that matters. Want to bring in Ian Sams, senior spokesperson for the Harris-Walz campaign. Great to have you here today. Want to point out these Nate Silver forecasts, right? He has Trump, I guess this keeps going up. 60.1% is his probability rating of who will win the election. He puts Trump in that category for right now. What is going to happen before next Tuesday that Kamala Harris can do to help try to turn that around before the debate?
Well, I think that we're campaigning really hard, and the vice president's sharing her message. I think in the last couple of days, you've seen a lot on the economy. You saw President Trump speaking at the New York Economic Club. You saw Vice President Harris speaking in New Hampshire. And a very different choice for the American people between President Trump, who wants to cut taxes for those at the very top and big corporations, and Vice President Harris, who has a plan to jumpstart small business growth. 25 million small businesses in her first term is her goal, by giving them the resources to get off the ground. This comes on top of her middle-class tax cut that she's running on and campaigning on for the country. And so in the coming days, I think you'll hear us talk a lot more about our economic vision. Just this morning, 88 top CEOs, former CEOs from across the country, business leaders, companies like Ford, Starbucks, Pepsi, Lyft, these are real American companies, came out and endorsed Vice President Harris, said she'd be great for the business community. Donald Trump's a former CEO himself. I'm not sure why the CEOs don't like him so much, but suddenly this morning they're coming on board because I think they see the difference in the economic vision.
I think that he
and
might
who's
say,
going to actually grow the economy.
Sorry, so I'm not a spokesperson for him, but I imagine what they would say is that, well, he has never been a friend of Wall Street. He has never been a friend of the establishment. Of course, the CEOs don't like him. But what he would say, I would imagine, is that, one, the Trump tax cuts, they would argue that it did not just help the top. And you hear that even from voters who are saying that the Biden-Harris administration over the last 3.5 years has led to a point where now you have 3 months of declining manufacturing job growth. You have retirees as the fastest growing seekers of returning to work at this point because they can't meet their cost of living standards. And Kamala Harris, yes, she says $50,000 to help start a new business, but if you're a retiree, that's not what you're looking for. They're telling us that they want to go back to something that where they can make ends meet at the end of the month. She is going to be pressed on the economy, no doubt. Do you imagine that President Trump and Kamala Harris will figure out a way, like, for example, on the Trump tax cuts? She's flip-flopped on a lot of things. She said she wouldn't want to extend them, but that actually does help the middle class. Would she perhaps agree with him on that, like taxing on tips?
Well, that's a lot to sift through. I think a couple things. First, I would say if you're a senior in this country, I think you're probably more worried about the Project 2025 agenda that might cut your Social Security and Medicare benefits. And when it comes to manufacturing, people forget, even before COVID hit, 2019, we were in a manufacturing recession because of President Trump's policies. So I think when you think about these things that you just mentioned, you have to understand the facts there.
Do you?
I think secondly, when it comes to you asked about the Trump tax cuts. I think the vice president's been very clear that the Trump tax cuts were a disaster for this country. She's focused in a more tailored way on ensuring that the middle class, small businesses and workers get tax relief, as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach like President Trump did and now is promoting doing more of, that slashes taxes overwhelmingly for those at the very top and big corporations. And hope that trickles down to the rest of everybody
well,
else. That's a difference in their economic visions, and I think you'll hear her talk about that on the debate stage.
Okay, Jim Messina was on our show yesterday. Pennsylvania, important state. Obviously, you got to have that in your column and if you want to get to 270. This is what he said about vulnerabilities for the Harris campaign with older white voters, and we were talking in particular about those retirees. Watch.
Part of her struggle right now is these older white voters where Joe Biden was doing better than she is right now. So she's got to address this, and she did yesterday in her announcement. But you're on to one of the challenges of the election for her, which is these older white voters that love Joe Biden and are still waiting to figure out what to do in this election.
And they haven't heard from her, Ian. I know that she did the speech in New Hampshire, but President Trump, for all the interviews that he's done, he's willing to take questions, everything. Is it a risk to put all your chips on one debate when she hasn't really been able to do any sort of Q&A with anybody except for in debate prep?
Well, I reject that. She sat down with Dana Bash for a long interview on CNN that aired
one
just
interview
a week
in
ago.
47 days.
Well, I know you guys are just now paying attention to her now that she's the presidential candidate, but she's done about 90 interviews this year as the vice president, and people maybe weren't paying attention or listening. She's taken questions from reporters on the campaign trail so far in this campaign, people who are covering her every single day. She's going to do more interviews and talk to the press more and take more reporter questions. Of course she's going to do that over the course of this campaign. But I think that she's going to explain to the country on Tuesday night what the difference in this election is and the choice between President Trump and her, and who has the right vision for the future. Are we ready? Are we going to keep doing what Donald Trump's been doing for the last decade, or are we going to turn the page and look forward to something else?
But Ian, first of all, she hasn't done a lot of interviews, and saying debate prep's going well, yelling that to the pool is not taking questions from the press.
This year.
But here's the last thing, which is, do the American voters not need to hear from her directly? She wants to be the commander-in-chief. We paid attention to her, and you guys didn't like that either. So the interviews.
It's funny.
Go ahead. I'll give you the last one.
It's funny. I hear the question, and it's funny because it's like you're acting like she's in the witness protection program. She's been traveling across the battleground states, talking to thousands of people in packed arenas, arenas that are much more packed than what President Trump is speaking to.
And look, and I think scripted interviews scripted speeches are great. But it's different from doing an interview. And also, she hasn't had to explain why she has done the flip-flop on fracking, the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, and now even banning plastic straws.
But Dana, you're Dana, not you, Dana.
Yes, I know
Dana last week on CNN in a fulsome sit-down interview asked her questions about all those things. So I just think it's inaccurate to say she's not answering these questions. Okay. She sat down and did a long interview last week to explain her positions on these issues and how her views have developed, being the vice president to President Biden, how she's gotten so much done. When you talk about fracking, this is the vice president who cast the tie-breaking vote on the biggest piece of legislation to spur clean energy job growth in American history.
Yeah, which led to inflation, which is causing retirees to have to go back to work. Anyway, I love talking to you. You have been a really good person for me to be able to reach out to, and I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on the show. I hope you'll have you
Always
back.
Happy to be here.
I know you're working long hours, and we appreciate you. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.